I don't think you call them nudists these days. You call them naturalists.
Welcome back to M's Adventures in Storytelling. Here we are again. This is part 3 of the spring update with Jason the Nude art model. This time we continue talking about nude art models, body types, body image, and maybe we cross over a little into talk about naturalists. Enjoy.
Well, I had one person who used to work for DOD.
Really?
Who's
I mean, because you can be, like, they can look you up anytime if they're going for another job or another job.
No, I think that there's enough people who I think, there's another one, I don't think he's had some health issues, and I think he hasn't worked for a while. He was fairly high up at Metro. You know, like, I think he was actually like an engineer or, because he used to post pictures, way back in the day where he's on a job site, he's got the construction hat, the blueprints, and all those things. So he must be some sort of engineer or project manager. So I think there are enough people who, like, again, either their career's over with and they could do whatever they want, and maybe this is a way that it's something uninhibited. I will say also that I don't know how much there is of this anymore, but there used to be a little bit of a crossover between art models and, I don't think you call them nudists these days, you call them naturalists. Some people, again, from my experience, could, I don't want to say control it, but like, they could keep those worlds separate. Other people, not so much.
Oh.
You know, the people who would do stuff like, I heard, like, you know, they wouldn't, like, put the robes on during the breaks, and it's kind of like, well, you just cover up.
Interesting.
You know, not even from a prudish kind of thing, but it's like, okay, you're not on stage anymore. You can cinch up your robe. Why younger women do it, I also can't say for certain.
Right.
Maybe they think, what I suspect is, just because I have heard from several people that some of the models end up getting out of the business just because they tend to be flaky and they don't stick to their commitments. My speculation, and I don't know why I suppose this,
That's
I think some of them,
not to do with being female. That's
no,
just young.
but I think part of it is due to the fact that they're probably maybe either involved in acting or other types of things, and
that are
so you have multiple
tend
commitments.
to be people who are a little flakier.
Right, and so you have people with multiple commitments, and okay, I booked you for next Saturday, and well, Friday afternoon comes around. Oh, well, I've got a photo shoot in New York City that's paying like $1,000. Yeah, sorry, you know, or in some cases they just don't show
right.
up.
Okay. So younger, flakier people, if you are in professions that perhaps attract flakier people, although I think that's a very dangerous place to go in terms of, I don't know what to call it, prejudice or, you know, bias or something like that, because if you're a very serious artist, whether that be acting or drawing, whatever it is, you got to treat it like a job.
Oh,
and
you
got to be
to.
on time. You got to have your shit together.
You have
to have your equipment, whatever it is. If it's your body, whatever it is, it has to be in shape.
No, you have to.
You have to have your kit, everything, and you must be reliable.
Yeah, you have to.
Nobody will hire you again if you are not reliable.
Yeah, I
Period.
think. Well, and it's interesting you mentioned that too, because I remember I was talking with the facilitator for that particular drawing session, and one of the artists came up, and I guess they were talking about somebody that bailed on them the previous week. And so the artist was asked the instructor straight up, it's like, are you going to give her another chance or you get done with her? And the way he was kind of treating it was like, you know, if it was me, I would wipe my hands of it and whatever. And he was like, because there's a paucity of female art models. I think it was kind of like, I'm going to give her one more chance. I'm really going to hope beyond hope.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, you have a thing happen.
It happened. Well, there was something.
Life happens, so it may be late or.
Well, in this case,
forget.
I think they just totally bailed. At least that's my recollection. There's another case where an instructor at the Corcoran said, hey, there's this woman who, for whatever reason, the administration is really pushing on people for whatever reason.
Okay.
So Maybe because, again, they probably had
Is she the niece of the owner?
well, maybe it was just because they had a serious dearth of, serious lack of female models. So like, hey, we've got one. Let's try and get her experienced and whatever.
Okay.
Well, she cancels the first gig at the 11th hour. It was a 3-week gig, 3 Saturdays. And the weekend is one of the worst times to bail on people because it's so much tougher to get another model. She bailed at the 11th hour of the first session. And I think she came for the second session. And so the artist said, so you're going to be here for the third session, right? Does a no-show. Just doesn't show up at all.
Oh, that's
so,
terrible. Yeah.
and that was, so it was kind of funny because I want to say it was a different one. But again, the instructor was having 2 models in her class. She had one person flake out. She wanted to use me for the remaining session. Mm-hmm. Then she got back and said, yeah, hey, I'm sorry, I wanted to use you. The Corcoran has this policy against mixed sex models on the same stage. Now, I've worked with women models before. It's no big deal. It's, again, I could see why maybe some of the suits wouldn't be keen on it for liability reasons.
Yes, it really is to do with being sued.
Right. Now, the few times I have worked with them, one of the cases, it was my friend. And we just happened, she's like, oh, did you hear we got the same class over at GW? So we had a joint class together. The other, we had 2 models on different podiums, so they weren't they weren't interacting with one another. One would be where those women are over there, maybe at 10 feet away, and then I would be here. So it was never, it was never an issue for me regardless. It is rare. Also, part of it is because now they have to pay for 2 models. That's, so there's a mixed, working with a partner is pretty rare around here, at least I've experienced. Doubly so if you're talking about a male-female setting. There was I was modeling for the Corcoran downtown once, and I was talking to the professor during one of the breaks, and he was telling me a story, I think, from when he was in art school, or actually, no, maybe, well, it doesn't matter, where he said there was a male and a female art model. They were posing together, and he said, well, he didn't know for a fact, you could just tell that clearly they knew each other from elsewhere, and you could clearly tell they were having a tiff, because even though they were being posed together, the body language was just so that the other person wasn't even in the room. It's like, he's like, you could honestly, they were like sitting next to one another, but you could honestly draw one of them, separately and not lose anything because the interaction was just not there.
Wow, and I wonder if that affected the drawings that resulted from that.
It probably did, because if
there was a sort of a negative energy or something like that came out of it.
Yeah, because you're telegraphing that energy, and clearly he picked up on it, and other people I'm sure did too.
Yeah. Wow. That's so. Wait. So I don't think we came back to. Let's come back to how are you going to then get stuff for your portfolio? You think you might have, you have that one picture which shows tone.
Yep, I would take that
one. And then you have a head photo.
Yeah, but I think the
photo of one of the head portraits.
I think the portraits, though, were kind of old. There was one drawing I took about a month ago, which is a 20-minute pose with me kind of seated, black and white, kind of leaning down.
But also, in your portfolio, you should just use the article that was in the Express all those years ago.
I have to go try and find out where I did that.
Because that right there is... Oh, yeah. That's a fantastic portfolio right there. Oh,
right.
Hello.
It's like, and that was like from...
It explains everything about me.
And that was from like over a decade ago.
Right, but you still look the same, basically. Mm-hmm. Also, I remember it was out of focus, that part, so it's fine. And you look the same as that out of focus part, And then and then if you have something more up to date... Right. Just so that they can see you're still doing it. It's not like, oh, I did that then and I don't know if I would do it again. Right. And then if you had a photo of when you've done some of the fast sketches,
which I do have those,
I think that's good enough.
Yeah, I think so too. I'd like to still get 1 or 2 more current ones, but I've got plenty of time for
that.
But
it sounds like it would be so hard to do because you feel you don't want to injure anybody's, you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings by only taking a photo of certain people.
I think the time will come, and I think it would probably be in an open drawing group session where if there's no facilitated instruction, typically you do longer poses towards the end of the class that if I see something I like right before they pack up, I could say, hey, do you mind if I just kind of grab a quick photo of that?
Right,
you know?
if it's someone who's last to pack up.
Right.
Or what about if you told them ahead of time? Would it make them nervous?
I don't think so. And it would also depend if...
Maybe if it's a student you've seen before.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
Someone you've talked to
someone I
before.
know before and whose art I like. Because
Right.
then I can just bump them to, hey, do you mind if I get a snap of this?
I need something for my portfolio.
Yeah.
Would you mind if I took a photo of your sketches after you're done? And I would think it's an honor for them.
Oh, yeah. In fact, there was one woman, this is like right before the pandemic. We were packing up, and I had already gotten dressed and out, and she was still finishing up packing. And then I said, hey, do you mind if I just, get a quick snap of
Yeah.
that? She's like, it's you. Go ahead. It's your
Yeah.
picture. You go ahead and take it.
Yeah.
She was flattered by
So
it.
that's good, as opposed to you, earlier you mentioned paying, to have somebody do whatever. I mean, that's a lot of effort
Yeah.
to put a whole session together.
That's something, like I said,
But if you wanted to do that, because you used to do it for free, right? You could offer up with one of these professors.
Uh-huh.
You could say, I'll offer up a free session because I would like to use these illustrations for my portfolio.
and that would be kind of like, okay, then they realize, A, they're getting a model for free. B, they already know my intent, so they're going to make sure to bring their A game and make sure they have a variety, and just,
And also
That's a
then
good
they
point.
won't sign up if they don't want their
you're right.
illustrations
Right.
used for
Yeah.
something else. So you could do that,
Yeah, no, that's a
and
good
that's
idea.
a win for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than pay. Don't spend any money on it. And I told you that I would give you the painting I did of you all those years ago, but I can't find it. I am sure that I painted over it
Oh, geez.
when I was using. And it's weird because I thought I had taken a photo of it,
Yeah,
but I can't find that either.
maybe you deleted it? Or would you have?
Rare.
Who knows? You could have.
But it was before I had a digital camera, so it might be in a print copy somewhere, and I haven't gone through all my print photographs yet.
Jeez, well, I'd love to be able to see it.
Because it's funny because it was not a good painting.
I don't even know if that's something I would post to my Facebook
No,
thing.
you can't because your penis is in it, and Facebook would.
Well, and it's front and center. It's in prominent
Yes,
display.
yes, it
It's
was
not
front
just.
and center. I know that I told you when one of my friends saw it, she wanted it.
That's actually quite flattering.
Yes. I'm just like,
Because I think we're all our biggest critics in certain regards, and
yeah, it was a terrible painting. But maybe she just wanted a picture of a man with his penis out.
Well, and I was just thinking, yeah, and that's my thing from like an art model standpoint. I'm glad you thought it was enough of a specimen that you really wanted to go ahead and.
Well, I
have a
wanted
copy.
to do it because I knew that it had taken a lot for you to put it out there, and nobody else was painting it.
You're right.
And I thought, what? No.
Yeah,
No. This is not for naught. Like
Yes.
this is,
This is-
we're doing it. So
Yeah.
I pulled my chair up right in front.
Because I think
And
there was a woman
like,
that was drawing my knees and legs.
Yes,
She was doing
and
a
they
little-
were. I know, and people were, and there were so many of those folks were painting from the chest up, and I was like, the man is completely unclothed.
Yes.
Like get his legs in there, get something, right? I mean, because only I and Sarah knew that this was the first time, so I was like, we're not having this be for nothing.
Yeah. It's not like
So-
let's not just have enough.
And so I wasn't really trying to make it a very good painting because I was more distracted with what was going on in the room
Right.
and so on and so on. And I would like to think I'm a better painter than that.
Well, and I think the novelty of it too, because it's like, okay, you knew me, you knew this was my first time.
Yes.
That's
I was
different
completely distracted from me being able to concentrate on, here I'm doing a painting of
yeah.
this person.
That exactly, where it's like,
His
yeah, hey,
body.
that guy who I went to grad school, I'm painting his penis now.
Yeah.
That's just like, when did you,
When would whoever say this?
Yes, exactly. In what world do we live in where it's something like not only would we think this, the fact that
That sentence would never come up. Pun intended.
it
anywhere.
In any sort of context except
in
for
this
one.
podcast world.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Where it is.
That's why this podcast is not for children.
Yeah.
Because it's America.
Well, and I thought it is too, because I remember I think we had an email conversation about it a little after the fact, and you're like, you know, it's not, I mean, how many of us get to see just like a normal male body, you know?
Never, because this is America. You never
Right.
see anyone naked.
Unless you're doing it like, and again, in an adult movie where they're going to have just, again, they're going to be jacked.
No, but nobody's seeing that. I mean, on TV, you never see normal bodies.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you do see women's bodies naked, but these are women who have been exercised by Oprah's trainer. They have been sculpted by plastic surgery. They're not normal looking women.
Yeah.
I mean, in Europe on film, you see normal looking people on TV and so on. But not in America.
How often do you see John or Jane Q. Public?
yeah.
you
And
know,
even I
something
think
like
on
that?
the internet, I don't know. I mean, I haven't searched for nude bodies on the internet.
Right.
Because that would do terrible things to my search algorithm.
Well, even, I remember there's a place, I can't remember the name of it, they're in New Hampshire, I think. They do photo reference for artists. So what they do is they have models come in and they take, I think they're on like a 360 podium that spins around and they can photo. And again, they, I personally don't think you're seeing a whole lot of, and that's been ages since I went to their website. But I still think even for something like that, you're not seeing a true cross-section of people. Granted, these are people who want to be photographed, so there might be some selection that...
Yes, because not only... That's forever.
Right. That like, hey, you know, my boobs, genitals, whatever, are going to be on display forever. I better be damn sure that I don't got stretch marks, I don't, you know, have body hair.
Or if they do, they're okay with that, but it's still...
Right.
That is a very small group of people.
And they even said, I remember they had a call for art.
Most people don't even ever take a photo of themselves when they're young and pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, and I think...
I mean, how many people, like, took a photo of themselves when they were 20? You know, like, look at later and be like, oh, yeah, once I was. Or, you know, or who cares, you know, or when they're 60. There's... Oh, did you think there was a movie with Emma Thompson? It came out, I don't know, last year, where she is actually full frontal nude for the movie.
Oh.
Completely in all of her 60-something-year-oldness.
No boob tape or
Nothing.
body double.
Yeah, because, and it's about her with a younger lover. Oh, I know what the premise is. She's a woman who maybe she becomes a widow or something like that, and then she decides she will hire a male sex worker to do all those things that she never tried. And so that's what the movie is.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that was, you know, not someone with a super sexy body, but I haven't watched it, but I'm sure it's kind of cute because she's like, so, and okay, let's try this then, you know, this position.
You're right.
And let's try this, and how does this work? And
you're right.
So
right,
anyway,
right.
so yeah, because, and she's one of those actresses who is fairly upfront about her body aging and so on. And I think she partly wanted to do that and was willing to be naked on film to show that, yes, normal bodies.
Right.
Yeah,
and
this
you know
is what happens.
Film is forever, which is why, like, again, like, yeah, I guarantee you there's, you know, people who still have drawings of me from way back in the day, but probably not very many people, just because, like anything else, you lose it, you recycle it. That wasn't a good drawing. Hey, I wasn't really jiving on that model, whatever. That,
oh, I don't think so. I think artists keep every single thing.
Really?
Yeah, I just went through and destroyed a whole bunch of my stuff because I don't expect to ever be a famous artist. But I had kept everything.
Interesting. That's
because you just never know. You know, every little piece might be worth something someday.
Yeah, you never know if that person becomes famous or you just get established and find somebody who wants to spend money on it. Or that's a good point. I didn't
keep
consider
every
that.
single thing.
I didn't consider that.
This is another reason why I don't do any art anymore. You got to keep it somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I just do digital art.
Yeah.
Because it's not stored anywhere.
Art takes up space.
Yeah. So I'm glad we solved the problem with your doing another session for the portfolio.
Yeah.
Just offer it up for free with a teacher, and then that's brilliant.
Say, hey, just trade for print.
And who knows? I could come to it.
Yeah. I'll have to go ahead. Yeah, especially if it's an open drawing group, then it's like
Right,
anybody who
yeah.
wants to come can come. They just pay like
Exactly,
$10. Not even $10, I think.
Yeah,
You just come in and take it.
Right, exactly. And, and we figured out why you're not dating anybody right now.
But yeah, that's going to change at some point because I do plan on
Yeah.
being proactive.
So are you
on
a
that.
firm do you have a prejudice about people? Do you think people should be with somebody else? I mean, other than when they need to help them with their medical emergency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you think in life that people should have somebody be with, or just you want to eventually?
No, I think they should. Everybody's different. And I think for me, I generally tend to be more of not a solitary person, but like more comfortable in smaller groups. At the same time, too, you just people have desires. They have realized that, hey, look, you do need that companionship, and you do need,
It changes over time too.
Right. Oh, exactly. Like I said, honestly, for a long time, dating wasn't even on my mind. Like it wasn't at all. And again, now that not that a lot of my life has started to change for the better, thinking, okay, well, yeah, hey, I wasn't, I used to date a lot when I was, going to grad school, when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. That started to taper off. Then I'm like, okay, you've had enough rest time. Now it's time to go ahead. Now you're properly rested. You can get back on the saddle and start dating it. Again,
It's terrible back in the saddle.
But
terrible.
The fact that I realize, I think when you're younger, or at least when I was younger, it's like, oh my God, I got to find somebody. I got to be in a relationship. You do a lot of dating. Whereas now I'm
Gotta
like,
get
okay,
married, have kids.
right? And now I'm like,
buy
okay,
house.
now I have the luxury of not being in that particular mindset where I can go ahead and take my time, and I don't have to, pursue everyone who's shows an interest in me just because, they might be the one, and I don't want to lose them. And then so.
Do you think that there is the one? Do you think there is, for everybody, there is a one?
I don't think so. Some people maintain that, and I would be happy to be proven wrong about that. I just don't think it happens for everybody. I just think.
But is it okay then to find a one?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Or should you just stay single until, if you're one of those people for whom there is not the one,
right?
Should you just die a lonely life?
Well, there's a difference between the one and being with somebody who has a lot of good qualities. There's that one
and
person.
Is it okay to marry the person that has a lot of stuff?
Right, and it's not even
like about them?
Right, and it's not even like, let's say you're settling with anybody, but there's certain people who, like, the first minute you see them, you have a spark, and there's that connection. Whereas that's not always
like
the
sexual
case.
Spark, or
no, just even like a relationship. Like, hey, you
personality
get,
spark.
Right, like there was.
You're not bored out of your mind talking to them.
Exactly, like there's somebody who just has like a great amount of charisma, or is very expressive, that you immediately pick up on that.
That's interesting. Do you think that you thought this 20 years ago, or you just wanted someone with nice, whatever?
I think it was almost like at that point I just wanted to be in a relationship, and I was like, okay, you know what? And I wasn't really even that fussy, as long as they could hold a fairly decent conversation, relatively like who I found attractive. That was kind of like, okay, I'll make everything else will
work
place
for me as long as they're sort of attractive.
Right, as long as they're sort of attractive,
Okay.
and I sort of kind of have a feeling for them. And what had happened was, I think I stayed in some relationships longer than I probably should have, just because that was not panning out.
Oh, okay. So you were doing a lot of work, but it was not, maybe. It was just to be in the relationship.
I think that was it. Just to be in I wasn't even thinking about marriage necessarily. I was just thinking, I just want to be in a relationship.
Right.
Me go over to her place, and the next weekend she comes over to my place.
Right, and it was just a habit.
Right. And it was and more of a kind of like,
a lot of people think it is better, it's more important to be in a relationship than, that's the most important thing. It's not to be a sad, lonely person.
Right, and for me, it wasn't quite like that, but I think it was kind of leaning in that direction, where I'm like, okay, I'm an adult, I live my own, and now it's time to get in a relationship. Yeah. Just kind of like, hey, you go to high school, you go to college, you do this, you do that. It was almost like, okay, it's time for me to, possibly settle down. So, did the serial dating thing, and then, had some, short to medium term relationships, but nothing particularly long. And then at that point, too, it was kind of like, part of it was I slowed down because I had just finished grad school, and I was frankly burnt out like you wouldn't believe. So the last thing I wanted to do was like, okay, now that I got some free time to myself, I just want to kind of relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, I started getting busy with the art model thing, and then I'm like, I really don't have the time for this, because I was fairly busy once I started to get established.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, if people have a problem with this, then I'm just wasting my time, so let me keep doing the art modeling thing. And then came that time where I was in a funk for a couple of years, and that was like the last thing on my mind. But as I started to eat better, exercise, take better care of myself, that I think changed how I was feeling mentally. And again, like, okay, you know what? Now it's time to start, doing those adult type things that, you put on hold for a while.
Yeah. And also now you feel like you're ready for a relationship. You feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
So then let's go back to the writing.
Yes.
Because on your blog, you basically have written a guidebook it's basically a guidebook on how to be a male art model.
Yep.
So would you use the creative writing classes to turn your blog into a book?
That was part of my thought. And in fact, the David Quammen, who ran the DC Figure Models Guild, he had actually suggested that. Whereas at the time, I preferred having a blog format because it's less static. I can go back and revisit things. I can, whenever I want to do something, spur of the moment. That's how frankly, I think some of my best blog posts were, because I had such a great gig. I came home, and like I said, I still had that nervous energy. I couldn't go to bed right away.
You were on a high.
I was on a high. I was on an endorphin high.
Serotonin, endorphin, all those natural drugs.
Yeah, and I was on a creative high too. So that's when I'm like, okay, let's whip out the laptop.
You were fully juiced.
Yes.
Full mojo battery.
And that's when and a lot of times what I did was I wasn't even providing advice. I was just blogging about my experience that day.
Yeah.
But I do have a lot of things that, and I know my art model friend had counseled me about this, and I think you had mentioned something about this too. I can revisit old blog posts. I can say, hey, this is, and I believe it was her who said what you could do is you can almost reply to your own blog post and say, hey, this is something I did 10 years ago. And you almost...
Now I'm doing it again, right, so let me look at what I wrote about it then.
Yeah, and it's almost like you reply, almost like editor's notes, like you're replying to yourself, like, hey, this advice still holds true, but where I said I would do this, nowadays I would do Y because of this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
And that you could 86 the old blog post, write a totally different one. You could, again, do what she said, have almost a reply to it, or write a whole new article that says, hey, enough has changed. Here's some initial thoughts I had in the matter back in 2010. Here's some I had 15 years later, almost.
Yeah.
Do it like that. So I think what had happened is writing is just like any other tool. You don't use it enough, you kind of lose it to a sense. And I think that's definitely happened where I'm like, I know I want to update the blog. I know I've got stuff to talk about. Part of the reason I hadn't updated it for ages was because, frankly, I really wasn't working that much. And so I ran out of things to say on a technical level, and I ran out of inspiration to say, to talk with in that part. Now that I'm starting to get busy, I can start talking about gigs.
Yeah, I can start. It's a good time to revive it.
It's about, hey, what do I know now going in? Hey, you'll notice I was on hiatus for about 10 years. This is why. I started to slow down. I wasn't in love with it as much as I used to. I kind of overexposed myself.
No pun intended.
Right. A certain thing happened in 2020, which put
things. I don't want to talk about it.
Right, but yeah, there's still places.
Well, you can still address it because you can talk about how you chose not to do the video sessions.
And my art model friend, she even said, hey, look, if you want to, I'll come over to your apartment. I'll help set up the camera. We can do some trial runs. Yeah, because the modeling they were doing was clothed modeling. So she was like, we can take some sample footage just so you'll be doing it. And I'm like, part of a couple things. I actually prefer modeling in the nude as opposed to wearing clothes. I feel more of an energy. I can't explain it. I do.
Well, that is a long tradition.
Yes.
Way back to the Greeks of the purity of being as you are to the spirit, to the universe, however you are in your birthday suit, that really brings you to the fullest of the that you are as an artist, because you're also being an artist in doing this model.
Right. And
so I love that you say even when you're clothed, you like your foot to at least be naked and touching the floor
Yeah.
or something,
No,
so that you have something that reminds you that you're part of this.
That's exactly what it was. I was telling you, when I do portraits sometime, I just ask if I can go barefoot. It's usually if it's a portrait, it's not a big thing because they're painting from up here. But theoretically, somebody could take a long shot of you fully sitting down. I remember there was one time I sat down, we were just getting started, and I was like, oh crap, I was getting ready to, I was just going like this to ask the instructor, if hey, do you mind if I take my shoes off? Then I hear one of the students go, I'm getting some great, light reflection from his, the leather of his boot. I'm like, okay, well, now I can't because they found something they wanted to glom onto. But you're right. There's that. There's the fact that the people are in the room.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to M's Adventures in Storytelling with Jason, the nude art model. This was part 3. I think there'll be 4 parts in total from our spring update. I'd like to end on the note that he was so excited about his nude art modeling, and that it can sort of be a Zen experience. I think I know a lot of people snicker at the idea of a nude art model, but really it is actually quite Zen and spiritual in a way. So if you want to hear more about that, please listen to the previous episodes from last year. I believe there were episodes 1 through 5 about how he got into nude art modeling. And then this spring, and then there's the midlife crisis part from the winter, and then now this part is the spring update, which will be 4 parts, and we get into other topics. You'll just have to listen to find out what they are. And I'm sure that some of them will be just as TMI as the other have been. And I hope you just enjoy hanging out with us and listening to us as we chat and over dinner. Thanks for listening. Ciao for now.